There is a certain type of person who notices things that most people never see. They walk into a room and instantly sense that something feels off. No one is arguing, no voices are raised, and there is no obvious conflict, yet their mind has already scanned the entire environment. They notice an avoided glance, a forced smile, or a perfectly normal sentence that somehow carries an undercurrent of insincerity. To many people, this level of awareness appears to be a remarkable gift. In reality, however, it often becomes a psychological burden. The problem is that their mind never truly switches off. They cannot simply enjoy a moment and move on. Instead, they replay conversations, analyze every interaction, and search for hidden meanings long after the moment has passed. A brief silence can become the beginning of countless thoughts and possibilities. Living with this level of awareness is emotionally exhausting because it means constantly noticing details that others overlook. While it may feel like a gift, it can slowly drain a person's emotional energy. To understand why some people become overly aware, psychologists generally describe two main origins. The first is an inborn personality trait known as sensory processing sensitivity. People with this characteristic, often called highly sensitive persons, HSPs, naturally process information more deeply than others. Their nervous system acts like a finely tuned filter, absorbing sights, sounds, emotions, and subtle social cues with remarkable intensity. As a result, they experience the world in much greater detail than the average person. The second origin is not something a person is born with, but something developed through experience. Neuroscience refers to this as hypervigilance, a state that often develops in emotionally unstable environments during childhood. Imagine a child growing up in a home where the mood of the adults changes unpredictably. Instead of living carefree, that child learns to become constantly alert. They memorize the sound of a car pulling into the driveway to predict whether a parent is angry or calm. They learn to recognize the meaning behind a slammed cabinet door or a particular tone of voice. Without realizing it, their brain becomes trained to detect danger before it appears. From a biological perspective, the brain's alarm system remains highly active, constantly sending the message that the environment is unsafe and must be monitored. Over time, this survival strategy becomes deeply embedded in their personality. As adults, many of these individuals criticize themselves for overthinking, believing that something is wrong with them. In reality, they are carrying a form of intelligence that was shaped by survival. The protective shield that once kept them safe has become part of who they are. This heightened awareness becomes especially noticeable in everyday life through a constant state of analysis. For most people, a conversation is simply a conversation. For an overly aware person, however, every interaction triggers a silent process of observation and interpretation. A simple message from a manager asking to meet for a minute can immediately create anxiety. They begin questioning the wording, the tone, and every possible implication. They notice tiny pauses before compliments, subtle changes in breathing, and small shifts in facial expression that most people never register. Research suggests that this tendency is connected to increased activity within the brain's default mode network, DMN, which is responsible for reflection and self-referential thinking. While this network usually becomes active during rest or daydreaming, people with heightened awareness often experience continuous mental activity. Even while smiling, talking, or drinking coffee, part of their mind is quietly observing, comparing details, and analyzing everything happening around them. By the end of the day, their brain feels as though it has completed a marathon, even if they have barely moved from their desk.